Hello, I'm Bailey Leisure, and this is my Week 1 recap of the 2018 NFL season, as I will be recapping some of the highlights from each game of the 2018 NFL season. To kick off the first game, the NFL kickoff between the Falcons and Eagles, this was it was kind of a sloppy, rough game in a way. Um, both teams kind of struggled offensively to pick up a game, especially the Atlanta Falcons. Like I've said before, I think one of the weaknesses of this team is play calling, and it showed again. They were in the red zone a couple times and they struggled to get in the end zone. In the first drive of they were on the 1 yard line on the first drive of the game, and they didn't score points, and then they were on inside the 5 again to get the lead, possibly and get the game-winning touchdown, and they couldn't do it again. It was just not good for the Falcons. The Eagles came away with a victory, but Nick Foles didn't look that great. I think this offense definitely, you could tell Carson Wentz is the quarterback of the future. I think one of the saving graces, the Philly special was an executed play, executed again, and that was an exciting play to see. Jay Ajayi picked up the pace for the Eagles offense, and I think another big piece of it is that Alshon Jeffrey, he was not in this game, and he'll be out for a little while, so that was definitely, they were missing him as well, but the Eagles were able to come away with a victory in this football game. Moving on to one of the big shockers of, I think, the week, the Bucs versus the Saints, the game I picked to be a huge blowout. Well, it wasn't exactly a blowout, but the Buccaneers dominated this football game. Ryan Fitzpatrick, wow. 400 yards. He threw a couple touchdown passes. Drew Brees did a pretty good job as well. But man, Ryan Fitzpatrick just came out of nowhere and looked like Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm not jumping the gun. It's week 1, but I think if the Bucs, after Jameis Winston's suspension, if they come away with a winning record, they might stick with Ryan Fitzpatrick. But overall, it was definitely a very good game for the Buccaneers as they came away with the victory, 48-40. Bills Ravens. This was the game I originally picked the Bills to win, but after hearing Nathan Peterman would be starting over Josh Allen, I decided to change my pick and pick the Ravens, and I was right to do that because the Ravens dominated this game. Defensively, they created a couple turnovers off Nathan Peterman. It was interesting. They used Lamar Jackson kind of in a wildcat spot. They used him a couple times on the offense, and then they had a huge blowout into the fourth quarter, so they played him a little bit. But just a dominating game for the Baltimore Ravens, and I think it's pretty. We're probably going to see Josh Allen really soon. It's going to be kind of like the Mitchell Trubisky situation when Mike Glennon kind of struggled, but I think we're going to most likely see Josh Allen start for the Bills very soon. So 49ers Vikings. This game was decent. Jimmy Garoppolo was kind of surprising how he struggled a little bit. He threw 3 interceptions. He threw 261 yards. But Kirk Cousins was just a little bit better. He didn't intercept the ball. I think he managed the game very well for the Vikings, especially with that great Vikings defense, and they picked up right where they left off. I think Kirk Cousins did well. Dalvin Cook looked decent. Only rushed for 40 yards, but I think a lot of the receivers had pretty good games. Adam Thielen had a great game. Stephon Diggs got a touchdown. I think just the Vikings, they just rode their defense, and Kirk Cousins just did a good job of managing the game, and the Vikings were able to come out with victory in this game. Jaguars Giants. This was a decently close game and a decent game. Blake Bortles didn't do that much. He only threw 176 yards, had 1 turnover. Leonard Fournette had to leave this game with a hamstring injury, so they had to depend on T.J. Yeldon, who did all right, ran for 50 yards. But I think the defense was able just to hold Eli Manning and Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley. Even though Saquon had a really good play, and he ran for 106 yards and a touchdown, he was very impressive. But I think the Jaguars defense just did a good job of containing Eli Manning, and they were able to come away with a victory. Bengals Colts, kind of a surprise. Andrew Luck was able to first game in 2 years. Played pretty well, through 300 yards passing, and threw 2 touchdowns. But they were able to come. The Bengals were able to come from behind, even though there was a hit in this game on Andrew Luck that ejected a certain player. I forgot his name. I'll put it in the notes. But they just were able to come from behind. The Bengals were able to start the season on a good note. Texans Patriots, the return of Deshaun Watson, and I gotta say he didn't look that good. Had a turnover, a couple turnovers. He just didn't look that impressive. It was a rusty game for the Houston Texans against the Patriots, even though last year they had a really good game in Week 2. But both, DeAndre Hopkins had a pretty good game, caught 8 passes for 78 yards. But Patriots were able to come away with the victory, even though they lost one of the running backs, Jeremy Hill. They just recently signed Corey Coleman, so we'll see how that factors into the season for the receiver core. But Rob Gronkowski had a big game, and they were able to the top players were able to do enough, and the Patriots were able to come away with the victory. And then moving into the Steelers versus the Browns. Wow, the one game. Listen, this was a game I thought would be interesting, and it was, for not some great reasons. Well, one thing that factored, it rained hard during this football game, and James Conner did very well. He ran for 135 yards, ran for 2 touchdowns, and he looked very good in this game, and kind of showed up Le'Veon Bell in a way. But that was the problem. That was pretty much the only good thing for the Steelers offense. They turned the ball over 6 times in this football game, including 3 interceptions from Ben Roethlisberger. The reason they didn't win, the reason this game ended in a tie was because of each team having a chance to get the game-winning field goal and missed. And also the fact Tyrod Taylor did not really play well. He did, they had 6 turnovers and they scored 7 points off those turnovers. I don't know what's more embarrassing coming out of this game, the fact that this game ended in a tie, or that the Steelers couldn't beat the Browns. But I'll give one thing that was good for the Browns: their defense. Their defense looked very good in this game. Granted, they didn't have to play against Le'Veon Bell, but they looked very impressive, and I think that's a good thing coming out for the Browns. And hey, guess what? You didn't lose, so congratulations. Titans-Dolphins, this was a game I didn't really expect anything. I picked the Titans, but the one thing that was big in this game, there was a couple-hour rain delay. There's storms back east, which played a factor. I think Marcus Mariota had to leave this game, and they put in Blaine Gabbert. Ryan Tannehill came back, threw 2 touchdowns, threw 2 turnovers. Nothing really to say about this game, but surprisingly, the Dolphins came out with a victory against the Titans. Chiefs and Chargers, this was a game I expected to be somewhat interesting, but the Chiefs they handily won this game, 38-28. Patrick Mahomes, in his first career start, very impressive, threw 256 yards, 4 touchdowns. Phillip Rivers did very well as well, throwing over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, but they just were able to get some turnovers early and were able to set the tone, and their offense outplayed the Chargers and the Chiefs. I kind of underrated them this season, but they're off to a very good, impressive start. And Seahawks Broncos. This was really an interesting test for Case Keenum to see how well he would do. He threw for over 300 yards passing, but he did throw 3 interceptions. But the Broncos defense was able to get a couple turnovers as well. That was the big factor in why the Broncos won 27-24. Panthers Cowboys, I thought this would be a pretty good game. It kind of wasn't. It was a low-scoring affair, 16-8. Neither quarterback looked impressive, either Dak Prescott or Cam Newton. But I think each team, I think it was just a man-of-the-game kind of game. Unfortunately for the once again this season, for the second season in a row, Greg Olsen suffered a foot injury. And from reports, he's going to be out a while, so we'll see how they adjust to that. And I think they're definitely going to need a lot out of Christian McCaffrey and a lot out of their rookie wide receiver, DJ Moore, if they want to go anywhere this season. But the Panthers were able to come away with a victory against the Cowboys. And the Redskins versus the Cardinals. I got to say, man, it was like a turn Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson were able to turn the clock back a little bit. They were very dominant. early on in this game, and that good start going up 21-0 was able to be enough. Adrian Peterson ran for 96 yards, impressive, and a running back nearing his mid-30s was able to do that. Chris Thompson, I believe, he was very impressive as well. Just for the Cardinals, just man, defensively, they took a lot of penalties in this game. Sam Bradford was not really impressive. David Johnson was kind of sluggish. The only receiver that had over 50 receiving yards for the Cardinals was Larry Fitzgerald. The Cardinals just looked lost. And I want to see how long this goes. If Sam Bradford struggles within the first couple weeks, if Josh Rosen comes available, but we'll see what happens. And then Bears versus the Packers, a tale of two games, as I tweeted out. The first half of this game, the Bears dominated. Mitchell Trubisky looked great. Khalil Mack showing the Raiders and why they shouldn't have traded him, and they just dominated. And Aaron Rodgers left this game with a knee injury, and he was carted off. He came back in the second half, and guess what? He wrote a comeback. They were able to win this game 24-23 thanks to Aaron Rodgers. Just showed why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and probably one of the best quarterback coming out of this generation. And he just looked very impressive. And but because of his knee injury, his status is up in the air for the Vikings game. That's going to be an interesting game between two division rivals, probably the two top contenders in the NFC North. But I think moving on to the two Monday Night Football games that capped off the Week 1, Jets versus Lions. Sam Darnold, first career pass, was picked off for an interception for a touchdown, pick 6, but was able to adjust a little bit. Didn't have incredible numbers, just threw 2 touchdowns, threw for under 200 yards. But the running game was really was what helped the offense out. Isaiah Crowell and Powell were able to run for over 160 yards combined. Crowell was able to get 2 touchdowns. The big factor in this game was the defense for the Jets. They were able to pick off the quarterbacks 4 times, including a pick 6. So I think that was definitely the big factor. And, never know. The Jets, in the way the AFC is, they could contend for a playoff spot. But I know it's Week 1. But we'll see what happens there. And then Rams Raiders. This was an interesting game for about for the first half, and then the Rams were able to just pull away in the second half. Jared Goff over 233 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr was impressive, but I think he wasn't really impressive. He threw for over 300 yards, but he was picked off 3 times. And Jared Cook had a really impressive game though for the Raiders, but that was pretty much it. The running game, Todd Gurley was able to run for 100 yards, and I think the Rams just proved that they were a better team. And to cap off my Week 1 recap, I'm going to give you the top players in who I thought were the top players of this week. Starting off with the top offensive player, and that will go to Ryan Fitzpatrick. What he did, throwing a couple touchdowns and throwing for over 400 yards. Man, he looks very impressive. And then top defensive player, this could have gone to many, but I say Khalil Mack had an interception return for a touchdown, had a strip sack and a fumble recovery. Even though the Bears lost that game, he definitely showed why he's getting paid big money and why he's one of the best defensive players in this generation. And that's it for my Week 1 recap. Stay tuned for my Week 2 picks, as I will be picking those games. Follow me on Twitter as always at BaileyLaser96. If you like the video, click like. If you subscribe, if you like the content on my channel, and leave your comments below on what you thought of the Week 1 action in the 2018 NFL season. So thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all later.